Hi everyone, this is Arpad from the YouTube channel Starpath Academy, and I thought I would share a couple of ideas that you probably had before, but it's nice to bring it back into focus now and then, especially when all the devaluation of the currency that is happening, right? If you have been kind of awake to that, it's quite important to measure things in other things, not just US dollars or the currency that you work for. And basically what I'm trying to point to here is measuring stuff in not just other stuff, but time. Time. The ultimate measurement, I would say. It does change, right? It does change in the sense of how much time does it cost to have a paved road if you pave it yourself versus if you purchase someone else's labor to pave that, right? So time is a very good measurement because it does change with technology, right? It does change with equipment. It does change with professions and so on and so forth, because most cases, right? In most cases, in normal times, it is 100% better to hire a professional to do something for you, right? Than do it yourself, because they can do it faster, they have the equipment and so on and so forth. So you do your job, what you're good at, make money, and then basically what you do is liquidate that time and effort that you have put in to make the goods and services. You sell that or liquidate that into cash, right? And you trade cash. But eventually, you have to realize that what you're trading is your time. Is your time on this earth that you have given up to do whatever you like, maybe spend time with your family, maybe read something, or maybe better yourself. Instead of that, you did some grueling work, and he does some grueling work, and you exchange that. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, right? If there's anything wrong with that, it's usually something in the middle, like maybe unfair taxes, or maybe unfair people who kind of made the connection between the two of you, and they're taking a large percentage, right? Or organizations, whatever you want to name it. Now, as long as everyone agrees, a certain percentage, it doesn't matter because it was all consensual. But what I want to say is that if you start thinking about measuring stuff in time, let's say you have, I don't know, let's make up an hourly wage of $20, right? Maybe after tax dollars, $20. So now if you go out and you look at that new pair of socks, or that new hat, or time at the restaurant, or time spent on whatever you want, right? New tires, new shoes, whatever. Start thinking about how much time, if you do your wage, if you're spending the actual time, like you purchase something for $100, that's 5 hours of your life, right? If you start thinking that way, it might open up a gateway to some new thought patterns that you have, because suddenly now you realize you're trading away your freedom. Every luxury item that you're buying, every item that is sort of like to impress others, you're paying that with your time. Now, if you have a very high salary, it will be a different cost for you, right, than if you have a lower salary. So while the item is $100 for both of us, I might be paying a different price for it in time. That's why I consider it a much better measurement of value, because it measures it for you, right? It's relative for you. And now with that, we talk about money hyperinflating. What did they rob from you? Time. Whatever you accumulated, in order to accumulate the sum of money, right? So that you can retire on, you can do something with it, or invest it, or spend it on your grandchildren. It doesn't matter. They're robbing your time. So now it becomes a bit more infuriating, doesn't it? It should be, right? Because they are robbing your time. And you are robbing your time. Every time you purchase something that you don't really need, you have given consent to give away your time on this earth. And you may value that more than the luxury item. So think about it. Every time that you need something, a fancier car, okay, well, that has insurance cost to it, right? You're kind of like moaning and not liking the high insurance cost, but maybe you need that for the fancy car that you just bought, right? And what do you do with the fancy car? You drive from home to work and from work to home. Why? To trade your time. So now you can see some items become totally circle logic in the sense of illogical. If you start a minimalization process of what you want to get rid of in your life, that is when you really realize that as soon as you get rid of more stuff that has quote unquote maintenance costs, even that maintenance might be just washing it every now and then, every other week, or taking it somewhere, or filling it up, or just having too much clothes that you have to tend and wash and take to the washer, or do if you have some toys, quote unquote, like cars or some other stuff that you don't really need. It's not just the price of what you have purchased with your time, but also whatever you need to spend on it to maintain it. So you bought something with your time that you're still paying, if you haven't paid it off, of course, in future time, that now you also spend some time on it in order to maintain it. So that, do you see now how expensive an unpaid off boat can be if you're not using it for anything, right? Now if it has some purpose for you, that's a different thing. But you have to watch out, because all of it is out there to rob you from your time. That time that could be spent on self-actualization, finding out maybe your calling in life and pursuing that, instead of giving up your time to things and systems that were built to rob you from your time. Understanding this sort of lens that you can now have a different world view, right? Understanding that you pay for everything with your time. Why do you think there are forces out there that want you stuck in your room watching porn or playing video games, or doing, even like this might get a lot of people angry, but doing your hobby instead of doing something else? Everything is measured in time. Me doing this podcast, I'm giving up my time. Why am I doing that? Is it worth it for me? Is this self-actualization? If not, then why am I doing it? Why am I doing the thing that I'm doing right now? Always ask that. Always ask that question. Whatever you're planning to do, is it worth the time that I have here on earth? Do you now see the cost of playing video games? Do you now see the cost of putting money and effort and time into hobbies, or learning stuff that you don't like, or even working for a company that you don't like, that doesn't bring you anywhere? So how can you regain time? It's quite simple. You take a look at first the stuff that you have around you that take your attention. it can be very, very simple. It could be placing stuff somewhere where you have to watch out if the cat or the dog or your kids are bumping into it. Now you have to worry about that. Now you have to put it somewhere else. Move it, close it. Have you closed it in time? You know, all that inner time that goes in your head, that you spend inside of your head, all of that time also costs you. Getting rid of stuff is the best way to start regaining your time. Making sure you keep only what you want to keep and not just stuff. There's a difference between being prepared, packaging stuff, organizing stuff, putting stuff in catalogs, and putting them away, than just keeping a bunch of stuff in your garage or in your house that you don't really need, and it's there because someone gave it to you and now you have to keep it. Making sure that you go big on minimalizing your lifestyle is one of the best ways how to start. The second is purchases. What can you give away from old purchases or sell, and stop new purchases? Stopping your Netflix account, stopping your Hulu, whatever account, stop playing games, the accounts you pay for that, Because everything will compound. Everything compounds because you buy stuff with time and you spend time with it. And as soon as you start regaining your time, soon enough, you will find that you could actually live on half of the wage that you are making right now. Because all of that is time. If you have more time, or you can spare more time, you don't need to work that time. Everything compounds, but only now backwards. Simplifying your life regains you power. And that is what they don't want you to have. Because if you have power, then eventually they will have to deal with you one way or another. Make you happy, argue with you, give you something to take you off course. Because it is in no one's best interest in the world that we currently live in to you self-actualizing. Unfortunately, right now, that's definitely since the invention of agriculture, it has been profitable to keep human farms. Now, it might sound drastic, but is that not what countries are? Is that not what companies are? Is that not what most religions are? Everything is inside the bigger system, which kind of breaks down into multiple layers of repeating the same structure again and again and again to the lower levels, where you get stuck in the bigger system to make sure that you give up your time so someone else who siphons that away, either through taxes, either through giving you a bunch of garbage to spend your time on, luxury items, other items, it doesn't matter, to make sure that you stay in the loop, you stay in the matrix. Because that way, you get to run the buses, you get to build the roads, you get to package the food, and keep the rest of the guys also in the matrix. So at some point, at some echelon, very high up, they have time to self-actualize. It's kind of that world. Now, it doesn't have to be like that, of course. It doesn't have to be like that. And there's ways how you can get out of it. But first is, you have to free yourself. You have to make sure that you don't give your time and focus. And I'm going to say one word here that you really need to listen to. Care. Making sure that you care about the stuff that you actually want to care about. That's focus, that's energy, that's your attention, that's your time, love, hate, whatever. Care. What do you care about? That is what manifests in your life and throughout this big freaking hologram. So watch out for that, and you can change the whole system from within.